Welcome everyone to the latest edition of First Friday Food Systems Focus. Thank you for joining us. My name is Nicole Witham. I am the statewide coordinator for the WSU Food Systems program. I work to convene a group of food systems team members throughout the state, a collection of different WSU researchers, academics, extension faculty and staff, as well as critical external partners such as PCC Farmland Trust, the Washington State Farmers Market Association, the WSCA, Folk Alliance, and many more. This team collaborates to provide specialized resources for farmers and food systems throughout Washington State, working to support viable farm businesses, optimize natural resource stewardship, and promote scaled processing and distribution, always in the pursuit of access to healthy food for all. Today, we are going to be speaking with a food system team member of ours, Amy, and also Megan from PCC Farmland Trust. They're going to introduce and talk a little bit about a program that they have recently launched, the Farm to Farmer program, or website as well. And we're going to have a chance to learn more about the process that they went to launch this and how it's going and lessons learned and what's happening in the future. I'm going to hand it off to Amy. And good morning or good afternoon, Amy. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, thanks.
So go ahead and just introduce yourself, Amy, and we'll get started here.
Okay, so I'm Amy Moreno-Sills, and I am the farmer coordinator program of PCC Farmland Trust. And as well, I'm also a farm business owner in Pierce County. My husband and I own a farm in Puyallup. We do about 20 to 30 acres of row crop vegetables organically for primarily the wholesale market, but we also do some direct marketing as well. And also joining us today from PCC Farmland Trust, Megan Jenny is here. Megan, do you want to do a brief introduction?
Sure. Hi, everybody. My name is Megan Jenny. I'm the Community Engagement Manager with PCC Farmland Trust. And my role in the Farm to Farmer program was to conduct a year-long feasibility study before we actually launched Farm to Farmer. So I'm happy to speak to any of that if folks have questions, but Amy's going to lead the show here.
Great, thanks, Megan. Okay, and I know a lot of you are probably pretty familiar with the work of PCC Farmland Trust, but there's likely some that aren't. So PCC Farmland Trust is a nonprofit land trust that works throughout Washington State to secure, preserve, and also steward farmland, threatened farmland from development pressure. So that's kind of the basics of what we do. The Farm to Farmer program is different from the conservation program. So our program is Farm to Farmer is basically trying to link farmland seekers, farmers, to land that's available. So that's the basis of the program. And a little bit about how this program started. Oh, I want to preface this with saying that I really would love for this to be a discussion. So if folks want to use the chat feature of this and type in your questions, or just do that little hand raise feature and chime in voice-wise, that would be fantastic, because I want to know what you want to know as well. So anyway, how this program was developed is that the Farmland Trust was getting, and we still do get, just a consistent amount of folks that are looking for farmland, or they have land and they were wondering if they could conserve it. And most of the time these opportunities were not, didn't fit our conservation criteria. Maybe they were in the wrong geographic area, or the acreage was too small, or something of that nature. So we were keeping track of all the inquiries we were getting, and we were thinking, wow, there's just so many folks that are either looking for land and are contacting the Farmland Trust, or they have land and they're wondering what can be done about it. How can we keep it farming if people can't farm it? And so we're like, what's the solution? We need to take some kind of action here. How can help. So this is how Farm to Farmer was born. And we are starting it here in Pierce County as a result of the all of the conservation work that we've been doing here. So we've been focusing a lot in Pierce County for the conservation work because of the incredible amount of development pressure that's here. We're also focusing in Snohomish County as well, although we do work statewide. Those are the two counties that the trust is focusing in because of the intense amount of development pressure. So when we decided what kind of action we wanted to take, we're like, we need to find out how to help folks connect with each other, farm to farmer. And the feasibility study was launched. So Megan led most of this work, the feasibility study, a couple of years past. And there was, okay, I'm seeing some questions coming up, and so I don't want to just ramble on. I want to answer these questions. Let me get to that. Okay, so Mark. Will the Farmland Trust assist with acquisition of land in urban settings to make our neighborhood garden sites a permanent feature of our initiative? So I'm not clear on what initiative you're speaking of, but typically the conservation criteria for PCC Farmland Trust has to be in more rural settings, a 20-acre minimum, and the parcel in question needs to be in danger of development. And so I don't know all of the answers to the conservation side of things. That's not my area of expertise, but those are the main criteria for conservation. I don't know if that answered your question, but I hope that it did. Okay, so back to how Farm to Farmer was born. So the first question we needed to answer was, is there a need for this kind of project in Pierce County, and will people even use it or be excited about it? And after talking to several farmers and farmland owners, it was determined clearly that this is something that we need down here. The next thing that we wanted to determine were what are the best practices for this kind of program and what are some of the biggest challenges. And so what Megan was able to do with this is she contacted a dozen plus different land linking organizations nationwide. Some of them have been doing this for 20 plus years and very successful at the program. So she was able to get a lot of great information from these land linking organizations that we are putting to really good use today. And some of the main things that we learned, the best practices from this feasibility study, were that having a website is just not enough. So no matter how good the website is, no matter how interactive and user-friendly it might be, what we really need is the on-the-ground person to really talk with the users of Farm to Farmer, the participants, the people that need to farm or need their land to be farmed. So what this actually means in real life is that a person, this is my role, so I'm the Pierce County coordinator, somebody in the community, somebody that knows the needs of the community and knows the people in the community and is really able to work with folks to support their needs and really know what they're talking about. For example, if I was to, as a Pierce County farmer with a little bit of King County experience, if I was to try to work with somebody in Eastern Washington, I wouldn't know their specific needs because everything is so different there, agriculture-wise and regulation-wise, et cetera. So that's one of the main things we learned, is that we need somebody on the ground working one-on-one with the participants, as well as a robust website. Another thing that we really learned in the feasibility study is to set clear expectations for the users. And so I'm constantly telling folks, as soon as I meet them, especially if I'm doing a site visit on a piece of property, I'm not a real estate agent, I'm not a broker, I'm not a real estate professional. I can't give you advice such as that or write up any contracts or legal advice or anything of that nature. And so it's really important to set clear expectations in that way, right from the get-go, what we can do and what we can't do. Another part of the feasibility study that we have taken into our Farm to Farmer program is the intake process. So we have a formal intake process with all the participants. So we have some participants that create a profile on the website and they're online and live, and some participants that don't want to participate that way. And that's fine, because the main goal is to keep farmland farming and to help farmers find that land. So the formal intake process, we have a list of questions that folks can we have a list of questions that folks can answer and information that helps us to help them. And then once they've filled that out, we will I'll give them a call if it's a land seeker and just talk through all the questions with them, because there's a lot of things that come out in a conversation, a voice conversation, that won't come out in digital form. And there's a lot of nuanced things that I can learn from the conversation to be able to help the people in just a better support and to help them achieve their goals. Then on the other side of things, on the land seeker side of things, or excuse me, the landowner side of things, I will go out and do an actual farm walk with them and walk their property and find out that exactly what their two reasons. One thing, exactly what they're claiming to be true is actually true, and also to help them know things about their property, because not everyone knows all the things that they need to know to be able to or sell their property to a farmer. So those are the main takeaways that we got from the feasibility study. And Megan, did you have anything that you wanted to add to that, or did I get to cover most of that there?
No, that sounds great.
Okay, thank you. And I was just reading through your next comment, Mark, about losing several of garden parcels that served many residents in your neighborhoods, and we're just not able to work in the urban setting for the reasons of just the funding and how we acquire conservation easements, and it needs to be outside of the urban growth area and that sort of thing. So unfortunately, while we would like to be able to keep food production for all the people, urban and rural, able to do those kinds of things. But that being said, I do work with folks in, I'm kind of jumping around a little bit, but this kind of really talks to what your problem, your concern is, Mark, is that we do work with all different kinds of farmers and farmland owners with the Farm to Farmer program. The only and the main rule or regulation that we have is that people are participating they either are commercial farmers as is right now, or they have the intent to be a commercial farmer. And so commercial farming, I've heard that term thrown around a lot of different ways for a lot of different people, and it means something different to everyone. And what it means for our program and how we're defining it is that commercial farming is that you're making a business out of it, or you have the intent to make a business out of it. So that means you have a business plan, you're planning to pay taxes, or you already do, business license, all those things. And it doesn't mean you have to sell $12 million worth of product. It could be $2,000 a year worth of product, or it could be 12 million. It doesn't matter. It's just that you are have the intention of producing agricultural things as a business. So that's our main criteria. Do I have any other questions right now? I'll stop for just a second and see if any questions come up. And I also want to show you what the website looks like. So this is an example of what a land listing will look like on the website. So you can come in here, anybody can look at the farmtofarmer.com website and see all the land that's available in Pierce County right now that is listed on the site. This is just an example. These aren't real listings that you can see on your screen. But it's really user friendly and kind of like any real estate site that you might see. You might want to find a farmer for your land, and that's going to look like this. So in order to have the contact information for these folks, you'll need to register, become a member of Farm to Farmer, which is basically just creating like a login. So you just enter your email and password, and then you are able to have like a blind email system. It's kind of like Craigslist. And then you can contact these folks if you're interested in learning more about what they have to offer or what they have to offer you. And then you can decide if you want to exchange more personal information. But you're able to contact folks without giving up personal information until you're ready for that.
Amy?
Yes.
You had said earlier that you do face-to-face visits to different properties. Do you take the same process with the farmers that are coming to your system? Do you have a chance to personally meet with them and help them kind of create their profile online, or how does that process work?
Yeah, so for the farmers, if they want to do a face-to-face meeting, I'll absolutely do that. But how it mostly works with the farmers is that it's a phone call. So I'm definitely having a conversation with them, but the need to meet face-to-face isn't as necessary as with the landowners, because with the landowners, I need to see the land. I need to see the actual property. But for the farmers, yeah, and I actually have way more interaction with the farmers because there's more of them. And I'm doing a lot of phone calls, and then there's a lot of, follow-up email back and forth, and that kind of thing. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I also find it interesting. So you said you have a lot of them, meaning you're kind of, in terms of supply and demand, I mean, this obviously is why land access is an issue. Are you finding that you're having a lot of young or new beginning farmers that are contacting you, and what's kind of the supply and demand aspects of this program?
Yeah, so great question. And we learned this in the feasibility study, and so we're not at all surprised that there are a lot more people seeking farmland than there is farmland available, like 3 to 1 at least that. And it's not always new and beginning farmers. It's not always young folks. There definitely is that demographic, but it's also folks looking to scale up that already have a farm business. Maybe they're doing 5 or 10 or 15 acres and they're ready to advance to a bigger property, or they're looking to change geographic area, something like that. I get quite a few folks in that demographic as well as folks that are wanting to do this as a second career. So there's all kinds of different people that are either in the farming business looking to upscale, or looking to get into the business as well. And I did want to mention, I want to go back a little bit about the commercial farming definition that I mentioned. While those are the folks that we're officially working with in Farm to Farmer, and that we're creating a profile and those kinds of things, I do get a lot of inquiries from people that are hobbyists or looking to homestead. And while that's not really part of our program, I will definitely have a conversation with them. I want everyone to be successful, and I'll do things. And how I deal with those kinds of folks is just point them in the right direction. Perhaps you should check out this organization or this kind of conference or this publication. And I want everyone to be successful. It's just that I won't be able to prioritize them time-wise or list them on Farm to Farmer. Wanted to make that distinction as well. Yeah.
Amy, can you elaborate a little bit more on PCC's kind of decision to focus in the peri-urban areas in Thurston County? I know that you said that there was a feasibility study. I know that there was a huge amount of kind of data that went into to realizing what land was at risk. And can you talk a little bit more about that and what your plans may be for expanding out of Pierce County?
Yeah, sure. So we started in Pierce County here because we had done for the past, it's been over years now, a little over 10 years. We've been doing so much conservation work around here, doing a lot of different, conserving different lands and making sure they were in farming and with the Seattle boom, the real estate boom, and the resulting development down in Pierce County, that's why we decided to start here, because we were already here, and the need is definitely right here. Many of you folks may know, but Pierce County was the I think it was 2 years ago. It was documented that Pierce County was the fastest growing county in the country. So definitely the pressure is right here. So that's why we decided to start here. And we have had, speaking to if we plan to expand in the future, and we are also working some in King County, but I'll get to that in a second. Expansion for the future, we get a lot of inquiries all the time. People are asking us if we're going to go statewide, or if we can work with you in the Island County or Skagit or all these other places. People are hoping that we'll be able to assist up there, but or around the state. But we want to be really, really, really intentional about expanding, because we want to keep the value of the program intact. And so while we're just in our first year right now here in Pierce County, and we're working out the kinks, and we're learning our own best practices and our own lessons learned and things that people need, we do see the need to expand. So we are going to launch in the next month or two another feasibility study for Snohomish County. So if it turns out, if the results from that study turn out that we should expand up the program, then we'll do that. But that will also entail having another person on the ground there in Snohomish that will be able to work one-on-one competently with all the participants, because that is the most important, that people get that one-on-one support from somebody that knows what they need and kind of knows what they're dealing with, and the community and the politics of the community, and just kind of how things are. So that's what's in it for the next step that we're going to take with Farm to Farmer. But I wanted to circle back to the King working we're doing in King County. Is that recently we have been working with the King Conservation District, King County, and Snow Valley Tilth in what is called the Working Farmland Partnership. And so while we're just in the few months of this partnership, we're really planning to grow and expand with the agencies that we're working with, so we can be more effective in King County as well. Yeah, so that's what's next for Farm to Farmer. So here, a question here: does Farm to Farmer have the ability to support farmers in Spanish? So Kate, that's a really excellent question. And down here in Pierce County, we can definitely do that. I'm able to support Spanish-speaking farmers. I haven't had any inquiries from Spanish-speaking people yet, but that's in my not PCC Farmland Trust life. In my if I put on my farmer hat, definitely speaking Spanish on a daily basis, and I understand on a really experiential and intimate level the need for that. And so whenever yes, so long story short, yes, we will definitely be able to support Spanish speaking farmers and landowners, so either side. It's really important. Okay. Funding. So this comes up quite a bit. How do you how do we make this program work funding wise? So the PCC Farmland Trust, we really have a robust philanthropy program that we leverage for this program, to be sure. And we also receive a lot of support from King Conservation District, the Pierce Conservation District, the UNFI Foundation, the Sustainable Path Foundation, and also the Gary E. Milgard Family Foundations. So that's who funds the program. And for tracking and reporting, I wanted to mention this because this is something that I found really interesting and kind of a new way to look at things. When Megan was reaching out to all the different land linking organizations and the ones that have been around a while and have been quite successful, one of the main feedbacks, best practices that they gave her was to not track acres. So don't set goals based on number of acres matched, because that's not really setting yourself up for success. It's more about number of connections made, a number of engagements made. And what I mean by that is why setting goals around acreage isn't setting yourself up for success, and engagements is that, for example, if you have a farmer and the farmland owner, and we've helped to make the connection and support their needs and kind of helping them develop what they actually need or what they want if they don't already know. If they make connection with each other and then they ultimately decide that it's not going to work out, well, that's a success. And that's for us, because if they would have made some kind of contractual agreement, or somebody would have purchased property and then they found out later, oh, I wish I would have known that I needed this kind of water right, or it was a lease situation and they said, oh, you definitely can't bring your kids on the farm, like, I don't want that, or something that could be a deal breaker for either party, and then everyone's in financial ruin and it could be bad. And so I think a connection that's not made because the research was done ahead of time is a success for us. So I'm seeing a question. I'm going to read this. Is there any need or room for land access curriculum to support your work, and or how do you general land access education as part of your work? No, I haven't already covered that yet. And I think there's definitely room in our program for all kinds of helpful curriculum, and that's one of the things in our development process right now is developing helpful workshops for people seeking land. And general land access education, I'm not entirely sure what you mean by that, like what you're thinking of is that, but what we're doing right now before we have a formal workshops or other formal educational processes is that's part of my one-on-one work with people. I have all kinds of people coming to me, from the folks that really know what's going on and really know what they need. They're just asking me if I know of any land available, to folks that don't know anything about zoning, don't know anything about water rights. And, I'm able to point them in the right direction to learn about that and all those.
So me, this is Nicole. So Chris Elder is the one who sent this question in, and I'll just give you a little touch on, I think, what he's asking is we've had the opportunity to glean some trainings from American Farmland Trust. They went through and did a pretty thorough project to develop it. I have begun to share some of the draft curriculum with people, but this is something that has come up as a resource that they created that they want to see shared. So this is definitely something we can connect with you on to see if it would be helpful in your work.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. And yeah, we'll be in touch. Sorry, Nicole, did you have something else?
Oh, no, I was just going to say, and the training in general is definitely geared towards folks who are needing to kind of evaluate their resources, their financial resources, the needs of what their farm, kind of their different production systems, what they're planning on plugging on to different land, therefore, to kind of give them an opportunity to really evaluate all of that so that they're selecting the right land and going through the right financial steps to make it all successful. That's in a nutshell.
Yeah, that sounds like perfect. There's a lot. Definitely see a lot of need for that. So yeah, Chris, that's great. We'll definitely be connecting soon. So I kind of forgot lost track of where we were here. Let's see.
So you had talked a little bit about funding. You had talked a little bit about, kind of the resources that you provide to landowners and also then farmers coming to you. Are there any other kind of stakeholders or partners that you guys have worked with along the way for this project?
Yeah, I mean, and I'm a little bit nervous talking about this because I know I'm going to leave out somebody super duper important because I get a little bit nervous on these things. But there's a lot of, we just gotten a tremendous amount of support for the program, just in all kinds of different ways of support. So here in Pierce County, I've definitely worked really closely with Pierce Conservation District and the various programs that they have. Been a really big help. And then there's different service providers that I've been able to work with that have been helpful, different insurance agencies, financial institutions that folks need, some personal coaching that people want. And Since we still are in the development stage, like I'm really excited to talk with you, Chris, a little bit more about your program and how we can leverage all those resources. Definitely WSU. And there's just been a ton of word of mouth. So I get calls and emails all the time, like, oh, I talked with this person at the county. They said I should call you, or I talked to this person at this other meeting, or I ran into this person on the street, or I was at a gleaning project and, I heard about this, and so I'm contacting you. And so I would say there's been a lot of formal support from organizations and a lot of just informal word of mouth stuff as well. It's been, really important for us. And interestingly enough, you see on the screen there what the website example looks like. And right now we have, 20-ish listings, but there's probably an equal number of folks that I'm in pretty continual contact with that have not listed on the website for various reasons. Some people are just don't want to be public in that way. Some people don't have the technical know-how to do that. But I would say the majority of folks that aren't listing that I am in contact with just don't want to be public with it because they're existing farmers and they don't kind of want to put out their search out there for everyone to see. So that's just an interesting fact. But I think it's important to note that I'm still working with these folks really, really closely. And I'm able to kind of feed people things that come across my desk, like a land listing or, just, I think it's just really important, like that on the ground person is just really important that there's somebody there that people can talk to. Because I get a lot of questions, and then people want to have follow-up questions, and then people are surprised that there's somebody there that's actually answering in a real way and not just using, office jargon that we all use in our daily lives. But farmers don't want to talk that way. We want to talk normally, so, or in a different way. So I think that's important too, to be able to understand the culture of things is really important, and that kind of speaks to one of the ways that I'm really hoping to impact things down here in Pierce County trust building. So Pierce County, some of you are familiar with the climate down here, or over here, and some of you aren't. So it's a pretty conservative county here, and there's a lot of agriculture here, and most of it is multi-generational. Folks have been on the same property for many generations, and most of it, those bigger farms are conventional. And so one of the things that I'm doing, it's kind of like it's really delicate, and it's really at a turtle's pace, but it's, I believe, one of the most important things for just to really impact the food system is down here in Pierce County is that I need to gain the trust of these people, because I'm working with an organization that really holds sustainability at high level, and I'm also an organic farmer myself. And so it's important that I demonstrate, not just by my words, but my actions as well, that just because these are conventional farmers or they might have different political leanings than I do, doesn't mean that I'm going to try to scam them into taking their land so they'll get less money. That's not it. I've learned from my own farmland search that we don't have the luxury to decipher between organic or sustainable or conventional when it comes to farmland, because it will be gone if we do that. So I'm a very big purist when it comes to my own farming methods, and purist meaning I will always do things organically. You could give me $1 million right now and I wouldn't farm conventionally even if I knew how. But when it comes to other people, I just want to respect you as a farmer. If you're a conventional farmer, that's fantastic. Whatever you do, I'm just respecting you as a farmer. And so it's really important for me to gain the trust of the anchor farmers in this county, so that when they are ready to move on from their land for whatever reason, whether it be retirement, sickness, they need to send their kids to college or whatever reason, that they're ready to move on from their land, that they can receive the full value for their land as they deserve, and then it can stay farmed as well, regardless of what their desire is for that or lack thereof. And I think that gaining the trust of them will help them just help farmland to stay farming. And that takes time, because there's a lot of just like with any situation, there's a lot of mistrust of things that are foreign to you. So I'm excited about that. And I think that my experience with searching for farmland myself and having to quit farming as a result of no land being available for a year just really changed my thoughts on that, because I did used to be a purist when it came to organic farmers, and I did not have a respect that I do now for any type of farmer. I don't care what it is. And so that might not be a popular thing, but it's really important for farmland preservation, because when the farmland's gone, if you're saying, oh, I don't want that because it's not organic, well, if it's gone, then it's gone. Like, it's not coming back, and it'll be gone in 10 years. So that was a long-winded thing, but I think that's really, really important. And so, yeah, when I was a couple of years ago, we started our own farm. My husband and I have a long history of working, managing other folks' farms. And then we're ready to start our own farm. And we're like, okay, we'll just find a farm. It will be easy. There's all this farmland around. We live in Pierce County. There's tons of open space. Okay, let's just find something. We know we won't find exactly what we want, but all we needed was water rights, really, water rights. We had to stay in Pierce County. That was our criteria. So water rights in Pierce County, and we had a lot of folks helping us out, a lot of people in the know, and then all the other, traditional ways. But we had to quit farming because there was nothing available. And it was soul crushing, and it was nice to have summer and go camping and stuff, but it wasn't worth it. And I was really happy that kind of one property opened up. So my point of that isn't to tell you a personal sob story. My point is to kind of just demonstrate the situation of farmland now, and why it is so important that I can gain the trust of the conventional farmers in Pierce County. So I think it's really important part of the work down here.
Amy, thank you so much for, talking through that. I think oftentimes when we talk about farmland preservation, and especially conservation easements, there's definitely a lot of stigma and assumptions that are wrapped up in all of those kind of options. One thing that I find really interesting about your goals with Farm to Farmer is that you really aren't just trying to provide a platform. You're also trying to provide a personal service through you and your interactions. So I was wondering something that I guess I wasn't clear on. When folks come to you with land, they have the option to post this land as available and go through, kind of your matchmaking service. Does that also mean that they are interested, or what stipulations about their land going into a conservation easement? Do they have like an option to put it into an easement, to not put it into easement?
Okay, well, that's a really, I'm so glad you asked that question, because this kind of thing comes up all the time. So farm to farmer is different from our conservation programs. So the farm to farmer program has nothing at all to do with conservation. It's just about farmland. It's a farm linking program. So, and that's confusing for a lot of folks. So just point blank, farm to farmer has nothing to do with the conservation program. However, because we are a program of PCC Farmland Trust, and I do have colleagues that do the conservation, if folks are we do always ask people who have land if they're interested in conservation. And if they are, then I will refer them to our conservation team, who can talk through things with them and find out if there's any options or possibilities for conservation. So that's a big distinction. But what on the, we're working in organizations and we're a lot of organizational people, but if you take yourself out of that and kind of remember the time when you never did work with that, when I'm talking about the farmers in Pierce County, the conventional farmers, and hoping that they'll conserve one day and then saying I'm not doing conservation. My point is just to gain the trust, because they see me and they don't differentiate between that. They just see me and I'm working for PCC Farmland Trust, and okay, you're going to tell me how to farm and I don't want anything to do with you. So I'm also a representative of the trust, no matter what, even though that the Farm to Farmer program isn't a conservation program. Does that make sense?
Yeah, thank you for clarifying. I that's what I had assumed, but I wanted to definitely wanted to clarify. And so just so you know, we have about 5 to 10 minutes left. I just wanted to pause and see if there's anyone else that has any questions. Otherwise, I was going to ask you, Amy, if you could speak a little bit about some of the lessons learned in this process. You've already shared some, but if there is any kind of, in the moment now, you guys are at this point where you're at the beginning stages of launching this, are there already things that are coming up in terms of any changes that you would want to make to the program or how it is working? And then also you had said that you didn't have goals for like a certain amount of acreage, but what are your potential like outcomes or goals overall of the program?
Sure. Okay, so lessons learned. Well, we're still in the first year, so it's a little bit too soon for us to have our own lessons learned on this. But so far, the lessons learned that the other land linking programs that we talked to during the feasibility are ringing true for us. So, interactions, one-on-one interactions with people, goal setting, and expectation setting were the main things that we got feedback from, and those are ringing true. So, maybe if we do this again next year, I'll have a little bit more answers about lessons learned, but we're still in the infancy here, so not a lot there. And then what are the goals? So we do have definitely some formal key performance indicators that we do for both ourselves and for funding reasons. So we are tracking connections. So even if folks aren't listed on the website, we're keeping track of connections and conversations that we're having in our database. And we have a really great database specialist that we have on staff, and she's helping us deal with all of that and put all the information together. We track number of acres available. We track number of listings that we have, number of people who we're working with continually to help them, whether or not they're listed. We do things like how many people are clicking on which listings, where their geographic area. The goal, and the overall goal, is to get people on the land and keep the land farmed. So that's always the overarching goal. Our audience is farmers and farmland owners, and that's always something that we're in all of our work we always it's easy to get bogged down with all the administration side of things, but it's really important to us to keep the goal in mind, which is the farmers and the landowners, and being able to help them with their needs. So that's always the number one goal. And I know that we're almost out of time here, but I also wanted to mention something that I'm finding, and this is something we did not learn in any study or anything, but I'm finding in speaking with people and landowners that the feedback I'm getting from them is they're really appreciative of some of the encouragement that I'm giving. That's one of the reasons why the phone call is and voice interaction is really important, because I'm able to, just from my experiential nature, really able to tell when a farmer is passionate about it. And farmers are kind of weird. We're kind of a distinct type of personality, and I'm you can always spot that when somebody has it. And people start to get down and discouraged, like, oh, I'll never find farmland, I'll never it's not working out. We've been looking for a year, and maybe we should just stop, and or it's too expensive, and this whole thing. And then, but if they have a passion for it, I know that farmers can make it work no matter what. Like, no matter what, you can always find a way to do stuff and just never give up. And people seem to, the feedback I've gotten anyway, really appreciate the fact that I just keep saying, don't give up, try this, how about try that, just keep going. And I think that's one of the important things from the one-on-one communications that I'm able to do.
That's great, Amy. One other quick question I had for you in terms of maybe some personal services. I know that even in my own land access journey, I have become well versed at stalking the real estate market, county parcel maps, things like that. Do you take any time in your kind of coordination role to keep an eye on things that are coming up in terms of real estate listings? And then also, are there any other tools within Pierce County for folks just to maybe get to know the lay of their county land and just where there might be opportunities?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, definitely stalking the real estate market, as you say, it's really important. And a lot of folks are doing the same, and then they'll ask me if this is and that comes up in the conservation side. There is a little bit of crossover, because sometimes I'll get a farm-to-farmer participant that'll shoot me a listing and say, hey, I can never afford this, but do you think it could be a conservation project? And then I'm able to hand that over to the conservation team, and they look into it. And sometimes it can be, sometimes not. But yeah, so that's been really, really great too, because something that maybe we wouldn't have taken notice of had there not been, all us talking the real estate market. So that's really good. And, and I always tell people, the more you can put your name out there, just the better. So real estate market, farm to farmer, any other, land matching, linking thing in the state, or any other organization, just tell everyone that you're looking. And, as you know, Nicole, like, just the more connections you have, the better it is. And farmland isn't always listed in the traditional ways. So a lot of times it never gets listed, and you can snag it up in other ways just by being part of the community. So, yeah.
Great, Amy. Thank you so much. Does anyone else have any questions for Amy? Feel free at this point to unmute yourself and speak up, and or send us a question through the chat box. Mark, also, I wanted to let you know I'm happy to connect with you outside of the conversation. It looks like that you have some specific.
Do we have a question?
Oh, no.
Oh, yes, I have a question. I'm wondering if you have any special, like a point system or something that favors veteran farmers or anything like that. The reason I'm asking is because I've been trying to work with a group here locally in Stevens County that's focused on veterans, and we were just yesterday talking about a conservation kind of an angle with like a land trust angle as part of the program.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah, we're working with the Department of Veterans Affairs in some of their agricultural programs, and partnering with them and some other folks to help bring more services to veterans. And it was just on one of my to-do lists for this week to contact some of the other veterans organizations in the state to develop that more, to give more services for veterans, and veterans looking to get into the farming business as well.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Anyone else out there curious about anything else, to have any other questions for Amy before our time's up? Well, great then. I am going to share Amy's contact info here on the screen. I want you to all feel free to follow up with her if you have any questions or ways that you'd like to plug in. Also, feel free to connect with me, Nicole Witham, with the Washington State University Food Systems Program. If you have any other questions related to our programming or partner organizations, please feel free to follow up. And thank you for tuning in today, everyone.
Thanks.
Thank you for your